Okay, so let's begin. So today we are going to cover the lecture which we couldn't finish on last Thursday. So we have some topics to cover for filtering, and then we will move over to edge detection. Okay, so before we begin, so homework one will be released after the class, and it will be due on Monday. Okay, just do a quick recap of what we covered during the last lecture. So filtering is you use the values which you have in the neighborhood of any pixel and to update the value in the current pixel location. And so this is the mathematical formulation for that. So if you have an image I, and for each pixel location, if you want to update that value, you use a filter which can be of any size. It could be size 1 cross 1, 2 cross 2, 3 cross 3. And then based on that size, you will use the neighborhood of that pixel to update this current value, and you will get the updated value as output. So yeah, you compute it's a function of local neighborhood, and for each position you do that. And there are various applications for this. It's used for denoising, resizing. You can change the contrast. You can also use for extracting important information. We will look into how we can use that for edge detection today. And it can also be used for detecting patterns. Now, so we can represent that operation simply so if you have an image, let's say the image is just 3 cross 3. So what filtering will do is, if you are applying filtering at this particular pixel location, so we are going to update the value at this location. So in this case, we changed it from 11 to 5.7, and it depends upon what's your filter which you're using to change the value. So it could just use value at this location, or it could use value at the neighborhood locations. And the size of the filter will tell you how bigger the neighborhood will be. So just a quick example. So again, this is your image, 3 cross 3 image. You are applying your filter at this location, and in this case, that's your filter. We also call filters like kernels. So you can use these two terms interchangeably. And so if you apply this filter at this particular location, what's going to happen is each value at the coordinates of this kernel will be multiplied with corresponding values in the image location. So it's element-wise multiplication for these two arrays, and you will just add up those values, and then you will assign that value to the central location. So this product is also called Harriman product. So that's if you have two equal sized arrays, you just multiply the values which are at the same location in those two arrays. So now let's go through some of the examples of filtering. I think we stopped at this point in the last lecture. So if we have, so in this case, we have the actual image. It's not like a 3 cross 3 matrix or a bunch of numbers. So this is an actual image. We can of course represent this image as matrix. So if this is an image of resolution 256 by 256, we will get a 256 by 256 matrix in place of this image. And what we are going to do is, so then at each location, we will have a grayscale value, which will be from, which will have a range from 0 to 255. And it can be between 0 and 1 as well if it's normalized. So this is our kernel. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to place this kernel at all possible locations over this image, starting from the top left, moving towards the right, and covering all the values, all possible values. And of course, we will not be able to place this kernel in the boundaries. And so this is a sample kernel. So what will happen is, you can see that the center is just 1, the other values are all 0. This means that when you place this kernel at any position in this image, you are not considering the neighborhood, because all of these are 0. So when you will multiply these values to corresponding pixels, they will give you 0. And when you will add those up, you will just get back like the center value. So which is like the original value of that pixel. So if you apply this kernel or this filter to this image, the image will not change. You will get the same image as output. And this is like another way to represent this kernel. Only the center value is high, rest of them are all 0. Now, this is another kernel you have. Again, this is a 3x3 kernel. And of course, like you can have 1x1 kernel, which will only operate on that pixel location. You can have a 2x2 kernel. You can have a 3x3, and you can increase the size. Okay, all the way up to like 9x9. It's up to you, depending upon like how big your image is. Now, in this kernel, again, it's 3x3. So the center is 0. All the other neighborhoods are 0, but you have a 1 at this particular location, and this location is like towards left of the center location. Now, what will happen is when you will put this kernel over this image at any particular location, then these neighborhoods will be ignored. Even like the value itself, which is like in the current pixel location, will be ignored because there's a 0 here. But the value which is on the left will be picked, multiplied by 1, which means like you will take that value and then copy it over to this particular location. So essentially what this filter is doing is you are taking the value from the left pixel and moving it over to the right pixel. So in that way, it's kind of shifting all the pixels towards the right. So if you apply this on the image, this is what's going to happen. So you can see that the image is like shifted towards right. And you can observe like there's a black stride here, which indicates that if you apply this filter on the first column, on the left, there was nothing. So if you fill that with 0, you will get nothing, or you can like again fill that with 0. And on the right, you will see that some of the pixels or the last column in this image will be lost because it will be moved to the right, but that's not like visible in this image. So then here, this is a nice example. You can see that if you apply such a filter, so using filtering, you can shift your image towards right or left. And similarly, if you'll have this value on this case, in this case, like on the top here, then you can also move shift the image from like top to bottom or bottom to top, depending on where the value is.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the significance of that RGB histogram above that filter? Does it mean that this filter that is one on that cell and the rest of the zeros on other cell, does that mean that it is only for the red channel and not for the green and blue channel?
No. So just ignore the colors there.
Okay.
Just ignore the colors. It's just showing like the histogram of this particular kernel.
Okay.
So the colors have no significance. Okay, so let me see like if there are any other questions. Okay, so no questions so far. Now, so before we move forward, so one thing to observe here is if you will like sum all the values in this kernel, it will sum to 1. And why that's important? Because when you are multiplying this kernel with the values like in this image, and then you're summing those up, and then you're replacing the pixel value. So if this kernel is not normalized, then what will happen is you are actually increasing the intensity of that pixel. So for example, consider like a white pixel here. So white pixel will have, let's say, a value of 200. Then if you put a kernel here, which is not normalized, then let's also assume that all the neighborhood or all these 9 pixels surrounding or 8 pixels surrounding that particular pixel are also like white. So they will also have a value of 200. Now what will happen is if you will multiply like those values with this kernel, and if this is not normalized, so you will add up those values. So it might go up like beyond 255. So in this case, it might go up as high as 1000. And that's like out of range for your scale, right? So that's why you will have to always normalize your kernel so that you are not like messing up the range of your pixel values. So for these two filters, it wasn't important because you had like one only at one pixel location. But the next filter you have one at like all the positions. So we'll have to normalize it. So there are 9 pixel locations. So if you sum up all these values, the total is 9. So we'll have to normalize it. So we'll have to do 1/9 here. Now this is another filter. It has like very nice properties. And what this pixel is trying to do is it's assigning like equal weights to all the pixels, like to the current pixel as well as the neighboring pixel. And I think in the last lecture, we talked about a weighted average. So filtering is like also, I mean, you can also, this can also be represented as weighted average. So that's the operation you are doing here. You are multiplying the pixel values in the image using these values. So these values can be weights for those pixels. And then you're summing those up and normalizing. So I mean, both are equivalent. Now, in this case, what's happening is all the pixels have equal weights. So what will happen is it will try to compute a kind of average of all those pixels. So let's see like what the result is. You can see that it's kind of blurring the image. And why this is happening, because at each pixel location, if you have drastic difference between two neighboring pixels, because of this averaging operation, the intensity value of those two pixels will be like then close to each other. And that's what you're observing in the resultant image here. So it's kind of giving you blurring effect. And again, this is the same filter, but instead of 3x3, it's 5x5. It's much bigger. And what will be the difference is, in this case, you are looking at a bigger neighborhood. So it will like produce even more blur what you got from like 3x3. So that's the result. It's even more blurry because you are like looking beyond that single column or single row. You are going up to 2 next pixels. So that was blurring. Now this is another interesting pixel filter, and we will talk about this later as well when we talk about edge detection. And this you have seen earlier, it's Gaussian filter. So why it's Gaussian? Because it's a 2D Gaussian. You can see that at the center there's a peak, and the values are going down as you move away from the center. So that's like a nice bell shape. So when you apply this filter on the image, again, it's trying to smooth your edges. So again, it's kind of making it blur. And so the difference between this and the previous filter is that in this case, more weightage is given to the current pixel. And as you move away from the center pixel, the weight is going down. So again, this is like weighted average, but the weight is higher when you are close to the center position. And that's why like it's a better smoothing operation, and it's not causing like that much blur, because in the last one you saw, if you use a 5x5 filter, there was a lot of blur. And in this case, it's a 5x5 filter. Even in that case, it's just making it smooth. Okay, so here's a direct comparison between Gaussian smoothing, which we saw like in the last slide, and this is smoothing by averaging, which was like on the previous slide. Now, this is showing like one more example where we have added like some Gaussian noise to the input image. So it's too much noise. I mean, in reality, in real world, like we won't see this amount of noise, but it's just to give you an idea. And after averaging, you can see that it's blurring it up. So wherever you have noise, it will tone it down, and it's trying to reduce noise. And in this case, we are using Gaussian filter. So this is the effect of Gaussian smoothing. So I mean, you can't say that which one is better, but both have like different effect. Okay, so there is a question from Furkan. He's saying that what was the effect of increasing the dimensions of kernel matrix? Could you tell that again? rather than decreasing the density. So the first part, when it's clear, you're trying to say that when we increase the size of the kernel, what will happen? That's fine. But then you say like decreasing the density. I'm not sure what you meant by that. Intensity rather than decreasing the intensity. So decreasing the intensity of what?
Dr. Rabat, we like divided the kernel matrix by 25. So isn't that mean decreasing the intensity?
So you divide by 25, but again, so you have a 5x5 kernel, right? And this will be applied at 1 pixel location, and whatever value you have at that particular location will be updated based on like the weighted average of this kernel when you put it on that location. So you have effectively like 25 different multiplications, right? So for each of these numbers, you will get something, and then you're adding those up. So for example, let's say this is not the input image. You have an input image which is completely white, all right? So if it's completely white, you will have at each of these locations in the image, you will have value of 255. Now, when you multiply that number with each of these elements, so the resultant number will be 25 times 225. So that's too high. And then you'll have to normalize that using 25. You get back again to 255, which is like the expected value. So this normalization is not like decreasing or increasing the intensity. It's just trying to normalize your computation which you get after weighted average. So
Okay.
does that answer your question?
Understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, that was Gaussian smoothing. And now we saw that this filter or this operator earlier as well, where we have all ones. So we have a special name for this. We call this a box filter. And what it's trying to do is it's trying to replace the value at each pixel location with an average of the neighborhood. We already saw that. So there we applied on our real image. Let's try to see how it's operating on an array. So when we look at numbers, I think it's more intuitive. So this is like a patch from an image where these pixels are all 0 and these pixels are like 90. Then, so first you put your filter at this location. So this is all 0. The average will be 0. All right. Then you moved it here. So from these pixel locations, you are still going to get zeros, but this will give you a 90. But then this is a 3x3 kernel. So we'll divide that 90 with 9. So you get a 10. We can see like how this is smoothing this location over. So as you move over, you have two 90s now. So it will lead to 20, 3 90s. So these are contributing nothing. These three will contribute 90. But again, divided by 9, it's 30. Again, this is not going to change because only 3 pixels are 90. Now, let's put this filter at this particular location. So these 4 pixels are 0 and these 5 pixels are 90. So it will be like 5 times 90 over 9, and that will give you a 50. Okay. And in this case, like all the neighborhood pixels are also 90, same as the current pixel. So the value is not going to change. It will remain 90. So that's like the final result when we apply this filter at every possible location, just ignoring the borders. And you can see that it's kind of doing smoothing or blurring. And so when you have like everywhere you have 90, you got like numbers close to 90. But as you move away from these higher numbers, when you move close to 0, the values are getting closer to 0. So it's trying to do averaging and it's achieving smoothing effect. We already talked about that. So what it will do is, another way to interpret that is it's trying to remove sharp features. And what we mean by that, so in this case, So here we are fine. We have like, if you look this array or this matrix as a representation for any image, so you will have some kind of object at this location, right? That's why you have high intensity values. But at this location, only one of the pixel is pretty high. So it's kind of, it could be noise, because you actually don't have like very small objects which are represented by just one pixel. So that's why it's trying to remove like sharp features. We call those kind of features sharp, which could be noise or could be anything else. So that's like another interpretation. Now, if you apply that box filter to this nice image, you get something like this. It's completely blurring it out. Now, this is, yeah, we covered this, but I think let's try this again. So we have this value at the center. It's not going to change anything, okay? If it's on the right, we know that we are copying our value from this location to this location. So you are going to shift the image to the left. Earlier we saw like how we can shift the image to the right. Now this is another interesting operator where what we do is we increase like the intensity of the current pixel, because we have a 2 here, so we are making it twice as big as the current value, ignoring the neighborhood, but then subtracting that increased intensity with the box filter. So as we saw like earlier, box filter will give you average values. So what it is trying to do is it's trying to reduce the intensity based on its neighborhood, and the effect is like it will sharpen your image, and that's why it's called like sharpening filter. So you can observe that it was like a kind of dull image, but what it does is it increases like the intensity where you have high intensity. So in this case, this eyeball, it's like more black now. But like these pixel locations, they were not black, not like completely white. So in this case, you can see like the intensity has increased here. It's like more close to white. So that's called sharpening filter. And the same filter applied on the full image. So there's a question from Bing Hao. So can you explain how the kernels is actually calculated with the two metrics? Okay, so you're talking about this sharpening filter. Now these are 3x3 matrices, right? So this is, I mean, we have broken it down like into two matrices just to give you the interpretation what's actually going to happen. So you're increasing the intensity of the center pixel and then decreasing that increased value with the averaged out values using this box filter. But what you can do is these are matrices of same shape, right? It's 3x3, it's 3x3, and you can perform matrix subtraction because the size, because the shape is similar. So this value will become 0, and then this is -1/9. So we'll get a -1/9 here. Similarly, you can get values for other locations. So it's simple matrix subtraction, and that will give you one matrix of shape 3x3, and then you can use that matrix for filtering this image. So does that answer your question? Bingham, we can't hear you. Okay, great. Now, so we will cover this Sobel filtering in detail later on. So this is called Sobel filter. And I think we studied this in last lecture as well. This we used for this was used as a mask for computing derivatives in images. And this is like derivative in the x direction. So this is called Sobel filter. So if you are computing edges in the horizontal direction, it's going to give you vertical edges. And if you take the derivative in the vertical direction, it's going to give you horizontal edges. Okay. Now, some key properties of linear filters. So if you have two filters, and we can separate them as like two matrices, like we did like for sharpening filter, we had two matrices, right? You can replace this plus with negative sign as well. And if you apply those filters separately, the resultant values will be similar. So for that particular case, if you had applied like the intensity increasing filter first, so let me go to that slide. All right. So if you had applied like this filter first on this image, so this will just increase the intensities of all the pixel values. And then you can apply this box filter on the same image and then do this operation. The result will be the same. So that's one nice linearity property. It's shift invariance. So it doesn't matter like which pixel location you are computing the values, it's not going to change. So if you shift your values, it will be like the same value which you got without shifting. Somehow this, whenever I go out of the slide, the keys doesn't work. Sorry about that. Okay. And like any linear filter you have, which is shift invariant, you can also represent that as a convolution as well as like correlation. And this convolution, we will study like how this is shift invariant and linear kernel, which is very helpful when we will study like convolutional neural networks. And that I think we're going to start next week, next Thursday, hopefully. So some other properties are like it's commutative. We saw that in the last lecture as well. So you can interchange like filters and signals. It doesn't matter. These are associative. This is also fine. You can distribute it over. So again, so this is like the first property which we saw. So if we replace like filter with kernel, then you can apply the same property here. Okay, so scalars factor out, that's fine because it's just element-wise matrix multiplication. So scale it, whether you are scaling the individual values, whether you are scaling the whole matrix, it's the same thing. And this is like just a unit impulse. It's not going to change the values of the input image. Now, so all the filters we saw so far, they were linear filters. And we saw like all those linear properties, those were nice properties. And there are like other consequences of that as well. You can have like very fast implementation of those filters because of linearity, because of all those nice properties. And I think that's out of scope of this course, but I think it's a nice thing to know. Now, we have another interesting filter which we call median filter, and this is like non-linear filter. And what it does is, instead of so if you talk about that mean filter, mean was replacing the value with mean of all the neighborhood, but median filter, what it will do is it will replace the value with the median. Okay, so we'll see like what are the advantages. And so the question is it same as convolution? Definitely not, because convolution is like linear operation and this is non-linear. And we will see that in just in a minute. So this is like the example which we just saw, I think, a couple of minutes back. And so yeah, if we apply mean filter at this particular location, we'll just compute mean of all these values. And the mean will be 345. So it will be 50, that's fine. Now, if you have to apply a median filter, so what will happen? So you will have to consider all these values. So you have 4 zeros and you have 3, 4, 5 90s, right? So the median value will be 90. Okay. So you replace this with 90. Now, what's the difference between this and mean filtering? So mean was trying to do some kind of averaging, but this is also, I mean, not exactly averaging. It's trying to find something which is kind of average, close to average. So, and you almost know like what median is, but what you can observe here is, since most of the pixels were like 90, and if there was some noise, and the noise could be zeros because 90s, the number of 90s you have is is more than number of zeros. So if there is some noise, so the probability of 0 is being that noise is like higher as compared to 90. So if we do median, we are also kind of ignoring that noise, and that's why we just replace it with 90. Now this is more clear when you put this filter at this location. So if you just have one pixel which is 90, but all the neighboring pixels which are 0, clearly mean that will be some kind of noise. So, and now if you compute median filter at this particular location, this 90 will be totally ignored, and you will get a 0 here, which kind of seems reasonable. Now, so another good example will be, let's say these values were not all 0, but they were close to 0. Let's say close to 10, 20, or 30. And you get a very high value at this location, which could be like, let's say 250. Now, again, if you compute average or mean, because of just this one pixel, the mean will be too high. It will be close to, I think, 150 or something. So that's like deviating a lot from what you actually have in this neighborhood. But if you compute median, then that will be close to the numbers which you have, like the most of the numbers which are close to 10, 20, or 30. So in that kind of scenario, I think median filter is more important. And we also interpret that as like kind of outlier removal, because 90 is an outlier. Okay, so this also tries to explain this. So we have this noise, this salt and pepper noise in this particular image. This is, if you're applying 3x3 filter, this is like if you're increasing the size of the filter. Okay, so this is using mean filtering. In this case, mean it didn't change anything, but as we increase the size of the filter, you can see like there's a lot of blur here. Gaussian, even if you use like a higher size filter, you don't have that much blur, but still there is some noise. But if you look at median filter, because this was salt and pepper noise where each pixel will be randomly changed to either 0 or 1, it's highly likely that it will be kind of like an outlier for that particular location. And as we like saw in the last slide, if it's an outlier, median will simply ignore it. It will not consider like what value it has. So you can see that you are totally in the salt and pepper noise, it's completely removed here. So even though like if you increase the size of the kernel, it's getting blurry, but in this case, you can see like you don't have any noise. So it's perfect to remove like very contrastive noise, or where like the value is very different from what you have in the neighborhood. Okay, so this these plots are like showing you a Gaussian kernel, and these are like all these kernels are with mean 0, and they have varying standard deviation. So the standard deviation is shown over here. This one has like a mean of -2, but let's just ignore that. Now the question is, when you're applying a Gaussian filter, so how big your filter size be? So that will depend upon what's your standard deviation. And so let's talk about this blue Gaussian. So this has very small standard deviation, right? So if you take a square root of this, you get something like around 0.45 or something. Okay. Now what you want is, when you're applying this kernel, so you will place this will be like placed at the center location. So that's perfectly fine. But as you are moving away from that center location, the weight which you are using to compute the weighted average, it's going down. That's perfectly fine, but you still have something here. But as you reach this particular location, the weight is almost 0. So if your kernel size is, let's say, ranging from -3 to +3, then that kernel is too big, because the pixel locations which are lying at these pixel positions, they are almost 0. So we don't need those pixels. So a good size of a filter will be if you crop it somewhere here, and that's close to 3 standard deviations. So for this particular case where you have standard deviation of 0.45 for the first one, so 0.45, if you take 3 standard deviations, that will roughly go to 1.2, 1.3, somewhere here, right? So that's the exact same location. So the rule of thumb is the 1/2 of the kernel should be equal to 3 standard deviations if you're using a Gaussian kernel. So that's what like we discussed. They are close to 0, and you should have like the half width of the kernel should be around 3 standard deviations. Now, until now, what we have done is for the borders, we have always ignored those. We always like replace those values with 0, but we can do something else as well. So we can do extrapolation, and there can be different techniques to do extrapolation. So one nice way will be like to just repeat the value. So whatever value you have in the borders, just carry that over and extend the columns and rows in the image. And there are some other, you can clip it, just put it like black. You can wrap around. So this is like just copying the edge, or you can do reflection. And for most of the cases, it doesn't matter. So, but still like, let's try to understand how using these different techniques will change the results. So this is kind of clipping. You're putting everything 0. Now, if you apply a filter, so this is a Gaussian filter, it's doing a lot of blur. You can see like at the corners, it's not like a sharp edge. It's still like, it's still doing something. So this is, I think, wraparound. You can see that this pixel location is actually copied to this one. And again, if you append Gaussian, it's kind of smooth. And this is, you're just copying the edge value and extending that over. And that's after the filtering operation. This is just like reflection. The filtering. Okay. So that's all about filtering. And next we are going to move to edge detection. So any questions before we start that?
Yeah, I had a question, Dr. Rawat. So far that we've seen that there is additive noise and multiplicative noise, but how about some noises that does not fall into either neither additive nor multiplicative, but a different mathematical function? So how to learn and eliminate those noise?
So I think that's a very good question. Now, so one quick comment on that. So we were studying noise in images just to like see how filtering works. And we saw that some of the filters are very effective in removing that noise, and some of the filters are not. So that's actually a entirely different research area, and it falls into like the category of image processing. And that's not like computer vision. So I don't think if we should go like any deeper in that particular direction. But like, why did you ask that question? I mean, I want to understand. And why does it matter like what kind of noise you have in your image?
For example, say image that has sun rays that are blurring faces, or the rain droplets or things like that. So, so that's why I was interested to ask that if simple filtering could solve that, or
No,
do we
so
need machine learning?
rain droplets, definitely not. Your filtering can't do that. There are like, so even for reflections, for shadowing, there are like more complicated models, and which I think are definitely out of scope of this course. That will be
Okay.
like core image processing.
Oh, I understand.
So, I mean, of course, I mean, those problems can be solved. So today, like using deep learning, you can have your network which can do that for you. But even before deep learning, you have like very complicated models which you can use to like, if you have, let's say, some rain droplets in your image, you can have different layers which represent like maybe reflectance. Then you will have like one for rain droplets, and how to separate those using matrix factorization. So I think that will be too complicated to explain, and definitely out of scope of this course.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I understand.